Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of Life Lessons and Combat Sports. Here's Eric Hamidi, as always, here to give you another interesting story or interesting tidbit about somebody within the realm of combat sports. And I kind of want to reiterate this again, that this is something that I really enjoy doing just because it allows me to it allows me to tap into a passion of mine, and I really like that I'm kind of gravitating more towards it now. And honestly, something that I've mentioned in other episodes is just the fact that doing these episodes is, in some ways, it's kind of a release for me. And I don't know, maybe in some ways this episode is also gonna fulfill that category, or just, fill that bucket, if you will. But it's good stuff, and I'm liking what I'm doing here. And basically, what I'll be talking about today is going back to actually a person who was the subject of my second episode, Luke Thomas, because he said he addressed something that I felt was worth talking about. And I don't know, it's something that kind of hits me. I feel like I say this a lot with all these episodes, but it does in fact hit very strongly with me, and I feel really motivated to talk about it, especially just given where I'm at in my life and just, the things that I'm kind of, been experiencing and such. So I thought it would be a good time to bring that up and talk about him again. And just as for anyone who hasn't seen episode 2, Luke Thomas, he's an analyst in mixed martial arts. He's been covering the sport for about 20 years or so, and he has a couple podcasts. One of them he hosts with Brian Campbell called Morning Kombat, and then the other one that he has is the Luke Thomas live chat, where basically people will post questions on the post section of his YouTube page, and he'll answer them. He'll answer them on air. And there was an episode that he did. It was a few weeks ago. I don't remember exactly which episode number it was, but there was a question that he got from a person basically saying something along the lines of, I graduated from college and I enjoy my job, or I'm comfortable with my job, but I can't help but compare myself to my friends who work in the big tech companies like Facebook, Amazon. I think the acronym he used was FANG, actually. So Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. So in his question, he was basically saying, I'm just like, even though I'm happy and I like my job and all that stuff, I can't help but compare myself to my friends. And, I got to be honest, there's a lot of takeaways from the way that Luke answered that question. And quite honestly, it's probably going to be something that I come back to, because there's a lot of different interpretations that you can get from it. But I'm just going to focus on one particular aspect of it. So he kind of starts, I feel like I should sort of save some of the responses and some of the things that he says for future episodes, because, at least for me, there's a lot of things to take away from it. And I guess it's kind of interesting how over the last year, there's a lot of, I guess, advice or words of wisdom or suggestions or lessons or whatever it is that I take away from this individual. And it's interesting because I've been following Luke Thomas for a very long time, and I enjoy his content. I enjoy the work he does. I like the work he does. But over the last year, it's sort of taken a step further in the sense that I'm also learning a lot of things from him and just trying to take that into my own life. But to that question that he was asked during one of his live chat episodes, one of the things that he responded with was, if you're happy with what you're doing, and pardon the language right here, who gives a fuck? Like I just mentioned, there's a lot of there's a lot of different statements that he says in that answer that I could focus on, I could talk about, but I'm just going to focus on this one aspect of it. I guess I've sort of been thinking with regards to that about, hey, if you're happy and what you want to do will make you happy, then go ahead and pursue that. And it's like, you know, if we take it within the realm of this question, I mean, obviously he's talking about like, hey, you know, your friends may be working at these big, renowned companies and all that stuff, but if you yourself have a job and you're able to support yourself or others, you know, I have no idea what this person's life is like, but basically Luke was saying that if you have a job and you're able to support yourself and you're reasonably happy with it, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if these individuals that you know you're comparing yourself to have jobs at Amazon or Google or whatever. It's just, I think one of the other things that he said when he answered that question was, comparison is the thief of joy, or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly, but I thought that was a noteworthy thing that, to be honest, could probably be a future episode. But the being happy part, I guess that has stuck with me, and the reason why I chose to use that as the theme for this episode is because I guess I've kind of been thinking about it in a lot of different ways about my past or my experiences and stuff like that. And I guess here's one way I can sort of relate it, or you know, talk about it, and it's kind of similar to this person's question, is the fact that he's asking, oh, hey, I have this job of mine, and you know, but it's not as prestigious as maybe my friends have, or as prestigious as the jobs that my friends have. Sorry, man, I'm having a hard time. Anyway, it's not as prestigious as theirs. And even though my job basically checks all the boxes, there's some insecurity there. And how I sort of relate it to my own experience is that, I mean, I studied film production, and I thought the route to go would be kind of like what a lot of other people do as far as working on set and getting jobs that way, and, you know, working in principal photography, basically. And I've mentioned this in other episodes of mine that the idea to do MMA related content is something that I've had an idea for. Like, honestly, the first time I had an idea about something like this was back in 2011, where I thought I could make videos or content or shorts or documentaries or whatever it is about mixed martial arts or mixed martial artists or just anyone within the combat sports realm. And through one reason or another, it's just, I didn't end up doing it. And, you know, I've mentioned this before, that I was basically talked out of it. And so I went the more traditional route of working in principal photography and working on set and all this other stuff. And I don't know. I guess some of this has to do with following your passion, but then also it has to do with leaning more, like, it also entails just leaning into what makes you happy. And for me, consuming combat sports or watching it and, reading up on it or learning about people's stories, I mean, even though the combat sports industry can be very sleazy, it's something that makes me happy. And I guess looking back on it, I'm sort of thinking if I was able to combine my passion for combat sports with the skill that I was learning, then I could lean into that. And I guess here's what I'm trying to say is that when I was talked out of it, or when I, when I was talked out of it or when I decided not to do it, I sort of thought that my motivation was that I should expand my horizons or expand my repertoire and just be able to work in narratives or documentaries, commercials, whatever it may be. And I didn't want to make myself so, I didn't want to, pigeonhole myself into just talking about combat sports, or just like I was influenced that I should not do that. And I've had my ups and downs with my production career, not gonna lie. And just going through this journey, what I've learned is that, well, I've learned what are the things, what's the kind of content, the subject matter that makes me happy. And for me, that's combat sports. So it's now in 2025 that I'm actually doing the thing that I wanted to do when I was 19, or that I thought about doing when I was 19, as far as taking my love and my interest for mixed martial arts, professional wrestling, somewhere down the line boxing, and just using the production skills or the production knowledge that I have attained to manifest it into what you see today with this project. And I think that kind of extends into a little bit of a problem or a general theme that I was kind of having, in the sense of denying, like trying to deny, or I guess put less emphasis on the thing that I enjoy or that makes me happy. And I guess for me, I'm sort of thinking, and I don't know, it won't do me or anyone who's watching this any good to just dwell on the what ifs, because there's no way of knowing how things would have turned out. And also, we can't go back in time, so we can't dwell on it too much. But I guess what I've been thinking is that, had I just decided to just lean into combat sports content and producing that, because that makes me happy and I'm passionate about it, that could have avoided a lot of problems or anguish or frustration, stress that I had experienced in my life, because I didn't realize what's the thing that actually brings me joy. And once again, that concern of being pigeonholed, I mean, with regards to that, I guess theoretically speaking, I'm sort of thinking, oh, people will just know me as the combat sports guy or whatever it is. But to go back to what Luke was saying, is that if it's something that makes you happy, who cares? Now, that can manifest in a lot of other ways, in a lot of other facets of life. There's just like let's just keep it focused. In reality, there could be somebody who has a job and it's not as illustrious or prestigious as someone else's job, but what it really comes down to is that, it kind of comes down to that old saying of, if it makes you happy, then who cares what other people think? That's one aspect of it. But in general, with really anything that you want to do or that you want to attain or that's within your ability to attain those things, I mean, if you know, I guess here's the other thing that I'm trying to emphasize. If you know what makes you happy, then lean into that as much as you can. Because quite honestly, I feel like that will help you avoid problems in the future. And if we look at my work history, for instance, had I decided to, and once again, doing a what if, but just for conversational purposes, I'm not going to lean into it too much. Had I just realized and really knew within myself that combat sports made me happy, when I was studying production, I wouldn't have had to worry about, oh, how do I get jobs on set, or just how do you conduct yourself on this type of a shoot or whatever. It's like a lot of that stuff wouldn't have, I guess I wouldn't have gone through the struggle of that, because okay, I would just need to learn, I guess, production within the realm of what I wanted, which, you know, I guess in 2025 has become this, but Lord knows how it would have been in the early 2010s. So my point is that had I leaned into my love for combat sports and used my production, the things I learned about production with that, then there's a lot of frustrations and let's just say it's stress that I could have avoided, or that I would have avoided, because I would have just focused and, I guess, tailored everything to the thing that makes me happy. And I also feel as though, I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I'm just kind of like, I think another thing is, like another facet of this is that you need to be aware of what makes you happy or what will make you happy, just so then that way you can pursue it sooner and start doing it sooner. I mean, I feel like I'm being repetitive when I say this, but it's like, look at me with doing life lessons in combat sports. It's like, that's a manifestation of it, but like it can play out in a lot of different, I guess, ways in life. I mean, I guess another example could be that if you wanted to move to a particular city, but you are worried about making your friends upset or what have you, and just if moving to a different city is going to make you happy, then go ahead and do that. I mean, it's really just I don't want to say it's just as simple as that, but I mean, I guess finding out what makes you happy takes work. So it would probably be a good idea to really take the time to think about what is the thing that makes you happy. So then that way you can, I guess, start pursuing that or start doing it and start being that way a lot sooner. Because, I mean, I'm even for myself, I'm thinking about a lot of different ways that if I had done the things that made me happy and like pursued those things or pursued, you know, and like took action with regards to that, then I don't know, it could have made for more joyous, you know, times. And I can only say could because, you know, there's no telling how things would have turned out. And, you know, I'm not a fortune teller or anything like that. But I think that's an important aspect of this. And I guess now that I'm talking about this and I'm thinking about this a little bit more, to really know what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, what brings you peace, that's something that's necessary in order to lean in to the thing that makes you happy. And I suppose it's kind of hitting me a little bit just because there probably would have been more tranquility, or at least there would have been a good chance for tranquility. I don't know. I guess I'm just really hung up on the fact that I didn't fully embrace the thing that would bring me happiness. So it created a tougher journey than what it needed to be. That's kind of how I'm viewing all this. And I mean, if nothing else, you want to do that so then you can live a happier life. And I mean, who wouldn't want to live a happier life? But I would say those are big things. Leaning into what makes you happy, and then also having the awareness to understand what that is, and then take, the necessary action to do it. And I guess maybe also, having that awareness, I'm sort of pointing that out because that way you can actually not commit another error that I've done in my past, which is waiting for the right moment, or waiting for something to happen, or waiting for things to come up. And I guess if you I guess, like, I'm sort of thinking about it in the sense of, if you know what makes you happy and you're aware of that, then you can start taking steps towards that. And for me, it's kind of manifested in doing this podcast, and for you, it may manifest in a lot of other ways. But that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, maybe in the last few weeks, is just that whole idea that there's probably a lot of problems I would have avoided had I had that realization, and just focused on what would make me happy, or what's the thing that would bring me joy. Just focus on that, and then it leaves for a more peaceful life, a more stress-free life, and a more enjoyable life. And then from there, whatever is within your ability, or whatever is like feasible to accomplish or achieve, you just go for that. And either you'll end up doing the thing that you want to do, or you'll realize it doesn't work out and you can just move on. I mean, I guess that's sort of similar to other episodes I've done, but this was one of those things that I felt like I needed to talk about and get out there. So anyone who might be watching this, especially if they're on the younger side, just focus on what makes you happy. And with regards to everything I've talked about, if it's related to a line of work that you're doing, just focus on that, and everything will take care of itself. That's the piece of advice that I heard from Luke Thomas that I wanted to share. I mean, there's a lot of other things I can talk about, and to be honest, with regards to this, as far as doing what makes you happy to avoid problems, I mean, this is probably something that I can come back to and give other examples for, and these are things that will come to me. But this is just the thing that I wanted to say for right now, to maybe this is helpful for somebody. But I've done enough talking, so I'll just sign off. Thank you guys for listening to episode 17. I really appreciate your time, and let me know what you think about this episode in the comments section down below. And I'm on Instagram, Life and Combat Sports, and Have a good day. Have a good evening, everyone. And we'll talk again soon. Catch you guys on the next one. See ya.